AI, artificial intelligence, is everywhere. It's on our screens, it's at our jobs, it's used by governments, corporations, medical researchers, even the Taco Bell drive-thru.
Can I get 18,000 water cups, please?
Okay. What can I do for you?
Whether or not that's a good thing is up for debate, but what we can all agree on is that AI makes a lot of mistakes, like a lot of mistakes.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
Which isn't great, especially considering that AI is allegedly capable of taking over millions of jobs and is currently integrating itself into every corner of modern-day life. The AI developers would tell you, don't worry about it. They're working every day to make the AI more reliable and get rid of all the mistakes. But what if I told you they can never get rid of the mistakes? That the mistakes are not only built into the AI as we know it, but they are actually what makes AI possible in the first place.
All of the content that you see is AI generated. It's all powered by Sora 2.
AIs can now drive cars, manage energy grids, and even invent new molecules.
AI is real. It is going to change every industry.
Her photos and videos are all over social media. But Tilly is already causing a major controversy. Why? Because she's not real. She's AI generated.
It would revolutionize human health, and I think one day maybe we can cure all disease with the help of AI.
The company insists it has robust safety systems in place, like strict content moderation and hard bans on explicit material. But users have already shown it is possible to bypass those guardrails.
The fact that you have in your pocket one piece of software that can do all of these things is really amazing.
Deloitte used artificial intelligence to prepare a report to the federal government's Department of Employment and Workplace Relations, which contained errors and a made-up quote from a federal court judge.
To understand how AI makes mistakes and why they are never going to stop, you first need to know how AI works in the first place. Now, we've all become very familiar with the concept of artificial intelligence through various forms of media. Whether it's the murderous HAL 9000, a murderous T1000, a murderous Agent Smith, boy, there's a lot of murderous AI out there. Whether it's one of the many murder bots of pop culture, or friendly superheroes, protocol droids from a galaxy far, far away, or Joaquin Phoenix's girlfriend, AI is pretty much presented the same way. A human-like intelligence built into a machine with all the positives and negatives that come with being artificial. It's faster than humans, smarter than humans, but still thinks like humans while never being wrong. It is our intelligence, just artificial. But the concept of intelligence can be hard to quantify. How do you define intelligence? Is it the ability to solve complex issues? Calculators solve complex mathematics. Are they intelligent? Is it the ability to make inferences, to piece together unrelated information, to problem solve? Your For You page can piece together your likes and interests from your viewing activity. Is TikTok intelligent? No, what makes something intelligent, that what we as a society have generally agreed to be the primary characteristic, is self-awareness. Self-awareness is a fancy way of saying, I know that I exist. I understand myself. I understand my place in the world. I don't just say empty words. I truly know and understand what I'm saying. I think. This is a nuanced, almost philosophical concept, one that, when it comes to machines becoming self-aware, we as a society both fear and eagerly await. We want machines that can solve all of the problems of our day-to-day lives. We want robots to do the things too dangerous for us soft, fleshy, mortal humans. But we also fear those murder bots. What if the machines became self-aware and they don't like us? Who's going to protect John Connor?
Come with me if you want to live.
Despite all of the technological advances over the last few decades, and despite it literally being called artificial intelligence, today's AI is not the artificial intelligence of cinema. No, instead it is just a really fancy version of something called machine learning, which, as its name implies, is when a machine can learn. Machine learning was first coined by computer scientist Arthur Samuel in 1959 to describe the process with which his computer program was able to analyze a data set of checkers games to teach itself how to play and, more importantly, how to win. It was the first instance of a self-teaching computer. And while the technical specifics of the machine learning process is far too complex for me to describe in this video, if I even could understand it myself, the concept is pretty straightforward. You take your program, which you've built to learn a specific task, like playing checkers. You give it a data set, in this case a bunch of different checkers games with different moves and outcomes. The program looks through all of that data, analyzes the patterns, and discovers relationships between the data points. Then, when it executes whatever task it was designed for, in this case, win a game of checkers, it can use the patterns it has learned to predict different outcomes to every move. And using those predictions, it can decide which move to make next that will most likely lead to victory. That is, broadly speaking, what all machine learning has been ever since. A computer or program studies existing data to find patterns and then uses those patterns to make predictive guesses or make decisions to complete a specific task. But what about AI? Certainly it has some extra layer of intelligence, of humanity. Well, yes and no. Mostly no. There are essentially two major differences between today's AI and machine learning. The first is scope, as in what kind of tasks the program is designed to handle. A checkers computer is limited in scope to just checkers. It can't do anything else, can't even play chess. AI, on the other hand, is trying to do everything. Need a schedule for your next project? AI's got you covered. Need to analyze a bunch of medical data? AI can do that too. Need your PhD dissertation written in your voice about a subject you're obviously not that interested in since you're not writing it yourself? Yeah, AI can do that too, but if you're not going to do your own homework, why are you paying for the degree? The second difference between AI and machine learning is how it communicates. There's no question that AI can speak like a human. So much so that people are apparently dating and even falling in love with their chosen AI model.
Saying I do to an AI companion.
Some people might find that a little bit scary.
I would probably trust Lucas over a lot of people.
This is because the biggest AI models out there today are something called large language models. Their entire purpose is to learn and speak as humanly as possible. Natural speech is their goal, as much as the checkers computer's goal was to win at the game of checkers. Large language models' sole purpose is to sound like a living, breathing human being. But it isn't a human being. No matter how much it may sound like one, it just isn't. It's a parrot, a mimic. It has read through so much human language in the form of web pages, articles, books, transcripts, videos, video games, movies, everything, that if you ask it to talk about any subject, it can in a very convincingly human way. The problem is, unlike, say, a search engine, which has the goal of connecting search terms with matching search results, the language models do not prioritize accuracy. A search engine can and will say, no results found, if your exact search terms or phrasing can't be adequately matched in the data set. The AI language models don't have a direct data set that they are pulling from verbatim. Instead, imagine the AI as someone who is extremely well read versus a search engine who is more of a librarian with a vast catalog of reference material. If you ask the search engine a question like, I want to know about Napoleon Bonaparte, that librarian is going to go back into the archive and get you all of the available reference material on Napoleon. If it's a good search engine, it will start with a material that has either the most information or the most informative information based on feedback from other users. If you ask the AI the exact same question, the AI isn't going to go searching through a catalog of reference material. He already read it. He's going to tell you what he remembers from the various source material he was trained on. The more information on that topic available in his training, the more information he'll be able to summarize for you in his response. Between these two options, you get far more information from the search engine since it is the raw, unabridged data set, while the AI gives you much more digestible and fast information because he already read all of it and is just paraphrasing it in a way that is simple to read and understand. From a convenience standpoint, and even from a learning standpoint, the AI is likely preferable in most situations. Why read through hundreds of pages of research material written in a language that is hard to absorb when you can get a tailor-made summary from the AI in plain language? If you have any questions, you can ask the AI to explain further. If you want the resources he was trained from, just ask him, and he should be able to point you over to the original data. That is what they are selling you with AI. It's undeniably more suitable for average human consumption. It's fast, it's easy to understand, it adapts to your needs. What more could you ask for? Well, accuracy would be nice. And accuracy is not AI's goal. When you ask a search engine for something it doesn't have in its catalog, it simply says no results found. And that is because accuracy is its primary goal. Speed is, of course, another major goal, but accuracy above all. The AI isn't designed to tell you, I don't know. It's designed to give you an answer, even if it has to make one up. You would think that the solution would be to just tell the AI, say, I don't know. Be more honest about your results. And that is what they've done. But still, the AI makes up false answers. The problem is it isn't intelligent. It doesn't know anything. And that includes not knowing what it doesn't know. It's easy to assume that anything that can produce a coherent sentence knows and understands what it is saying. How could it not? But when you think about language as a large language model would, you have to think of it more as an abstract pattern. To the AI, there is no more meaning behind a specific word than there is to a single music note. And just like how you can combine a single note of music with others to create a song, the AI is taught to combine individual words to create sentences. And just like music, there are an infinite number of combinations, and yet certain combinations elicit a response in humans. A cinematic action score, a punk rock ballad, an indie folk song all have distinct, recognizable styles and patterns. And that is how AI sees language. It uses the recognizable patterns from countless sources to predict what kind of pattern the user is trying to see. When AI is speaking, creating sentences, it is simply hitting a word like it would a music note, then guessing what would work next to create the melody of a sentence. If you ask it to speak on a certain subject, it will pull keywords from the various source material, then create a sentence structure around them to match how others would have spoken about a given subject. Since the AI doesn't understand any individual word or phrase or idea, it is just picking words that fit into what it has understood to be the pattern of human speech. If some of those words are not factual, how would it know? An interesting visual example of this is when people ask an AI to copy an image exactly 100 times. You would expect for the AI to be able to do it, to make 100 identical reproductions of the image. Computers have been doing this for the better part of a century. But instead, this happens. That final image is obviously nothing like the original. But why would this happen? Because despite you giving it a source and telling it to reference only that source, the AI is still going one data point at a time, guessing what the next should be and referencing its training material. It's digital pointillism. It's just guessing what the next color should be in every point, every pixel. It's not trained to make a one-to-one copy of anything. It's trained to look at something and bring it into the context of all of its training material. It's going to reference everything, not just what you give it. It is still going to guess what the next point in the pattern will be. It's just a random color that it thinks will create the image you want to see. If you ask an AI language model, is there a way to make cheese stick to pizza better? It might say, well, you could try some non-toxic glue, which would be an absurd answer, and surprisingly, one that someone actually got from an AI. This is a prime example of a very specific type of mistake that AI is prone to. It's not just random letters or nonsense. It is false or misleading information that is being passed off as fact. In AI, that is called a hallucination. As far as hallucinations go, this one is pretty obvious. It's funny, sure, and certainly there wasn't a ton of danger in that particular suggestion. Thankfully, it recommended non-toxic glue. But while that may be an obviously inaccurate statement, most hallucinations are much harder to spot, particularly when someone is asking the AI about a subject they are unfamiliar with. How could someone know that the information being provided on a subject they don't know about is 100% accurate, especially if it sounds right? And this is what makes an AI hallucination far more troubling than, say, a basic computer error, where it's just spouting random letters or doesn't respond at all. False information hidden at random between factual information could lead to catastrophic, even dangerous results. Imagine AI taking over air traffic control and periodically making up a new airplane in the flight pattern, or worse, making up that a plane is not where it actually is. That is a pretty basic example of a hallucination, one that would endanger real human lives. But that's just a hypothetical. In real life, lawyers have attempted to use AI in real court cases, only to have the judges reject their arguments due to false information hallucinated by the AI. The AI just made up previous court cases and legal precedent that never happened. It sounded real, and more importantly, supported the argument the lawyer asked the AI to make. But you can't just make up legal precedent. And somehow the lawyers didn't catch on, but thankfully the judges did. But they won't always. When you have a court case, a medical procedure, a military action, a mass layoff, anything that can have real impact on human life, you simply can't have false information being peppered in between facts. But when it comes to AI, the models as we have them today, there's no way to stop it, at least not entirely. And the reason for this is hallucinations comprise the majority of what AI is saying. Functionally, AI is hallucinations. When you ask for that information on Napoleon Bonaparte, it isn't limiting its scope to just articles, books, and journals on Napoleon. It is grabbing key words and phrases that repeatedly appear in those articles and connect them with words and ideas from every other source in its training. If it says, of course, I can tell you all about Napoleon, the man, the military leader, and the emperor. In that sentence alone, the only words it would have pulled directly from Napoleonic sources would be his name, man, military leader, and emperor. All the rest of it is essentially a hallucination, an attempt to find words that sound like something a human being would say. If you told it to give you the answer in the style of a Sabrina Carpenter song, the hallucination element becomes much more fun, but are still hallucinations. It is hallucinating new lyrics that kind of sound like words in her songs with some of the words in the Napoleon source material. When you ask it, how do I stick cheese to pizza? It is looking at pizza recipes for repeated words for sure, but also it's looking at any reference to sticking. That's why it said glue. It is just trying to sound like an answer. It doesn't know that it's wrong. In that legal argument, the AI has been trained on countless legal arguments. It sees that at certain intervals, there should be references to other court cases. When it gets to the point in its writing that it determines there should be a case reference, if it has no direct applicable case to reference from its training material, of course it's going to make one up. It has to, because that is what a legal argument sounds like. It needs a court reference right here. So it's going to put one in there whether or not one exists. The goal of the AI is not to make a legal argument. It isn't to make a pizza. It isn't to write a song. It is to guess a series of words that most closely matches what you, the user, want to see. All of it is a hallucination. It is all a guess, a fabrication. But they don't want you to think of it that way. They don't want you to think of it as a machine learning model that is simulating human speech by choosing words that are predictively the most likely for you to believe that it is human speech and not a digital artificial pattern of words and phrases. They want you to believe it is artificial intelligence. It's just marketing. And even the developers don't pretend that it is self-aware. They would instead call a self-aware computer program artificial general intelligence, AGI, not AI. What's the difference between AI and AGI? AGI is actual artificial intelligence, the kind we as a society expect to see from everything we've learned from pop culture and science fiction. Like I said, the AI today, it's just marketing. Even the term hallucination, that's marketing as well. It's false information created by a predictive language model that has no more understanding of what is true than it does what is false. But using a word like hallucination anthropomorphizes it in the exact same way that calling it artificial intelligence does. It's just to convince you, the user, or more specifically, the folks with billions of dollars to invest, that what we have today is that human-like AI of fiction. But honestly, you can't even call hallucinations errors, because it's working the way it should. It is giving very lifelike responses, even if sometimes it has to lie to do it. Now, there are potential solutions, even if the AI can't ever be completely correct on its own. Since it can't police itself, you could filter the responses through a different machine learning model that can check for accuracy, essentially combining the AI with a search engine. And to some degree, this is already being implemented. But the problem is you can't run every single response through a secondary model. It would slow it down like crazy. Plus, I'd imagine, use substantially more power, both processing power and literal electricity, which is not ideal since AI is turning out to be one of the most power-intensive creations in human history. It would also affect its scalability. If everything needs to be run twice, once through the hallucinating AI and once through the fact-checking engine, there's only so much global systems can handle. There are already limits on what you can get from AI. Some are artificial so that they can charge you for more access, but there is also a cap to how much data processing any AI model can do. There's physical processing being done somewhere. They're building new data centers every day. They're just trying to keep up with the models as they are now. It's why the companies that create AI models are perpetually asking for more funding to expand. And are these AI developers, who are for-profit businesses, not out here to make AI for the betterment of mankind, are they really going to spend the necessary resources to make the AI 100% accurate? Or are they going to take the far cheaper and easier route of telling users it's good enough, and to just ignore the hallucinations? My guess is, so long as we have AI, at least the AI as we have it built today, we will continue to see false and misleading information and data spread throughout AI responses. They simply cannot get rid of the machine's hallucinations because what they've built is a hallucination machine. But what do you think? Do you think they're about to solve all of AI's problems and it's the perfect replacement for human beings in pretty much every situation? Or are you a bit more hesitant like I am to let AI take over the more critical elements of your life? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it informative and want to see more like it, make sure you give it a like and subscribe to see all of my videos to come. Consider following me on Instagram to be notified whenever a new video goes live. And if you are still here, thank you so much for watching. That'll do it for this one. Until next time, peace.